Ah, shit. Yo, I ain't in the best mood. Pit sweat through, Mitch to the studs, and I think the rent's due. Heads up my ass, nothing in the fridge. Regretting last night, cause I took it to the bridge. But bricks is with rude, said to fling through. Pass through the chip in, might get a drink too. Turn up to the mill with a vacant stare, and my legs can't take these stairs. But my spirits get lifted when I step in the gaff. I just look up at my brethrens and laugh. Cause I got a face like I slapped her, I said fucking matched. And I'm looking like I slept in the bath. But I'm blessed, I forget that I'm living the dream. I got everything I wished as a teen. I swim in the deep end, live for the weekend. It's all up and down and there's no in between.
Tellin' say I'm feeling kinda rough, but it's calm. Waking up tired and fucked at the norm. Still have to rise and move through the storm. This side of life where we choose where we want. Can't complain, can't cost too high. Jump on a bus and left from yard. Dance studio, gonna make some art. Tunes of the bang gang scream, oh lord. This is just a simple exorcism of some demons. Something I was needing just to change the way I'm feeling. Now instead I got the motherfuckers on the ceiling. Back in here believing, man, them got the meaning of life right. More than a 9-5, more than a cake, so we just do it for limelight. Do it cause we love it, though we paying a high price. Come on, so we rock as fuck, Lord. And I'm feeling like I really got to say nothing like a lovely studio day.
Hey, no motivation, heart palpitations. I'm out every night because of my lack of patience. Heart got me racing, block nose stops me tasting. Fuck knows where this place is, I'm supposed to be where my mates is. Setting everybody back a couple paces, letting everybody around me catch what I was running away with. So no one around me matches what my crew can do in a rave or what my crew can do in a day. There really ain't no ones to play with. So when I actually condense my thoughts into this capsule, time's frozen and I won't get it back. But my brothers bubble with me, struggle through the trouble with me. Fox says nothing, couldn't dull it, done it. Proper funny, the gang's family, so the family bringing proper money. Where's my pocket money? Who ate all the honey? Sounds familiar, done it, but I love it, that's a family. I love you when you're angry, but mostly cause you won't be when you can be.
Living life on a computer, be time till I'm done working. The mission is what it is, no line that I find certain. The vision is non-negotiable, stay on it to the curtains, this the short of it. Authors of the book are living Lord, they're looking outstretched. Yeah, I'm still about it cause I sound blessed. More sunny, more money in the bank. All for me, all fully in the plan. Talking, we talk to the son of land. All for the summer jam, run it man. Catch me in the street to the soggy, spit on the tune. Get 'em bubbling up in the groove. When there's something I'm in the mood, get it pumping. It's one of them when we enter. Energy's not pretend, I'ma lay him down with a pen, then go in the crowd and befriend them. We mastermind in a plan, be putting time in the fam. Another guide for the mind, I'ma keep it wise for the gang. See we survive in the rain, no bother it stay the same. My property's what I'm saying, so better be saying thanks.
Right, Rick.
Good morning. Good morning, and we're live. Welcome to Charmain Berry on the Telly. Big thanks to Levels there with their track Rainy Day. I'm going to be speaking to Liam from Levels later on, Skittles UK. And a big warm welcome to everyone. The date today is September the 19th. And I'm not only joined by just Liam, I also have with me a very special guest, Craig Whitewood, joining us from the Isle of Man. Very interesting chat. And I'm quite excited about this because we're kind of going off topic, right? Expanding on the topics here a little bit. We've kind of stayed clear of more conspiracy kind of things and what's happening out there in the wider world, and there's an awful lot of stuff going on. So we're going to be exploring some of the things around that with Craig today, which I'm really looking forward to. We're also going to be joined, as usual, with Christina Batty, and she's going to be sharing the Mayan Calendar report update for us this week, which is as interesting as ever. So now it's time to be joined by our first guest. It's a real honour and a real pleasure to have you here. This is Craig Whitewood. Hi, Craig.
Hi, good morning. Hi.
Good morning, good morning. And there you are in the Isle of Wight.
Yes, I am indeed on the Isle of Wight. It's sunny at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little bit grey up here up north. It's not as
I think it might cloud over actually. It does look that way. Not good morning, but we'll have a cloudy afternoon, I'm sure.
Brilliant, darling. So, you know, we've chatted a few times over the last year or so, I think, and a little bit more recently. And you've got such an interesting background. We're going to talk about that in a little while. But can you give us a snapshot, Craig, about you and what you do and where you're at the minute and what kind of things you share with the world right now?
Yeah. Okay. So I qualified. I've been a sound healer for a while, and then this year I decided to branch out, a bit of professional development, and started on hypnotherapy. I took a mini course in hypnosis sort of earlier in the year, and that really sort of got my juices flowing. So I thought, well, hypnotherapy, why not? It's a perfect lead into that. And then cognitive behavioral therapy with the hypnotherapy as well.
Wow.
So,
what a combo. Is that a new thing? I haven't seen that before.
It is. Well, I say it's new. The college I studied with, they're in Harley Street in London, and they've been doing the course for 15 years now. And the original principal, although he's not there anymore, he came up with hypno-CBT as a modality. So he combined the two. He was trained cognitive behavioral therapist and a hypnotist as well. So he just decided that they would work really well together and empower each other as modalities.
Yeah.
So that's been running for 15 years now. So it's just not that popular.
Yeah, it's just not as heard of. And is it about sort of then finding core beliefs like we do in CBT, finding like those irrational core beliefs that underpin everything, and then using hypnosis to change those, to work with those? Yeah, that sounds pretty formidable, really. What kind of like outcomes have you seen from that? What's that been like?
Really good stuff, actually. So very recently, the midwife for my daughter, my little girl, bless her, she's 5. Basically, her midwife she was just an advising midwife, really private, and we didn't go the NHS route. And she's been out in Pakistan recently and got a really bad knee. It swelled up and she had some real problems maneuvering around, and she was her and her friend out there helping give birth and feeding cycles and things like that. So I just went on, spoke to her and said, well, look, we can do some hypnotherapy around that if you like. And a week later, she said, well, it was about 2 days later, after one therapy session, she said her knee had cleared up. And then she said, oh, what can you do about sort of IBS? So I've got some a bit of acid reflux. So okay, well, we can work around some tension release surrounding food, because obviously you've had a bad experience. So then we can look at the experience and how we're framing that before we go into it, and release the tension. So we worked on some tension release exercises, and a couple of days later she was fine again. So
I love stories like that. Definitely going to have a look at it. It makes sense, actually, to combine those two things together. And before that, you were trained in sound healing.
That's right.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah, so I work with, at the moment, I mainly work with the crystal harp. So I could even show you that if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. this is absolutely my favourite tool in the box.
Wow.
Um,
Is it a crystal? Is that what it is?
it's quartz crystals, and they've turned it into like a xylophone type thing and call it the crystal harp or a crystal lyre.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Okay, I can't see you on my screen right now,
My video seems to have
Craig. Is that
still?
something there? Maybe it's the power of the crystal.
Yeah.
Still something to the screen. We've got this sort of anti-clockwise
Yeah, I'm using a separate
rotation.
it should be connected. I might just change my video.
Okay, we'll see what happens there. Maybe it's doing some pretty strong healing. I'm sure we'll have Craig back in a second, just sorting his video out. Can you still hear me?
We're all here waiting. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, I think he's back. He's here. I can see him. Hello. He's on mute. Hello, Craig. Can we take his mic off mute?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Not a great camera on the laptop, but I've had to switch over.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, look at this.
So,
Tell us a bit about this. That's amazing.
so this is a quartz crystal harp. They
Wow.
make very few of them, and obviously you can imagine they're not hugely popular, just because not many people know about them.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
on the Isle of Wight here, actually, there's 4 of them now.
You're spreading the word.
Yeah, the bit a woman had one before me here, a healer lady. She had one before I did.
Yeah.
But I had ambitions to get one before I knew she had one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spoke to her, and that sort of gave me the impulse then to go and buy one.
Yeah.
Or get one delivered. So
Mm-hmm.
away. And some of them are made in Canada. They make them in Russia and China.
Wow.
So yeah, and
I'm absolutely dying to hear it.
a friend of mine, she saw it because I was at a small sort of fringe festival we've got here on the island called Ventnor Fringe, bit of a copy of the Edinburgh Fringe, and they gave me a little outdoor stage to myself to play this every day.
That's brilliant. Can we hear a bit?
Yeah, yeah.
That's gorgeous. That is so lovely. It's very angelic.
Yes, indeed.
Beautiful sound. Lovely. Wow.
That obviously, because you can imagine, that has a wonderful effect on most listeners.
That's lovely.
I'll put that aside now. So yeah.
Thank you. So you had a very interesting journey. I think your life story is really, really interesting, and sort of all the events and things unfolding to take you to the sound healing, I suppose. But yeah, can you tell us a little bit? I'm just really interested in in your background and.
Okay, yeah. How far do we go?
Maybe we've got about 5 minutes on that, if it's possible to condense it down into that.
Yeah, so my parents split up when I was quite young, so I ended up in a boarding school for single parent families and orphans. It was on a country estate, but it was originally an orphanage that was there and on the country estate, and then the owners died eventually and left it to the whole estate to the orphanage.
Wow.
And eventually it became a school over time.
Mm-hmm.
So it had like a little hamlet village in it as well. So it had like a proper old Catholic style church and all sorts of interesting type, the things you'd find on a country estate, I suppose, and a load of sort of fairly rough kids just running riot over the place, really. So it was an interesting combination, to imagine these old dignitaries and having the place for years, and then all of a sudden these kids running riot there. But yeah, that was a great place, and really enjoyed my school, actually.
We don't hear that very often, but yeah.
Odd, and everyone was. I'm going to just try and polish my camera a little bit quickly to see if we can get a better picture.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Better?
Yeah, it's better. Okay, so yeah, and then when I left school, I eventually got into care work after a few miscellaneous jobs, working with people with learning difficulties, neurological disorders, a chap with myelin in 19, and the myelin which coats the neurons in the brain. It's like a fatty cover of the ends for the connections of the neurons, and yeah, he was deteriorating in that regard at the age of 19, so he's blind and could barely walk, so he needed 2-to-1 very strong care at all times. And he'd try, if the car slowed down and he was in the car, he'd try and get out of the car,
right,
whilst it's moving. So we had to really make sure child lock was on and he didn't sort of go running off. So yeah, did various things, daycare as well, so various disciplines within the community side of things, community care. And later on got into social entrepreneurialism and charity fundraising as well. So a bit of corporate work, insurance. I was an insurance underwriting manager of a specialist department, and then got into the charity work, and then got into social entrepreneurialism with community interest companies, cooperatives, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on trained as a sound healer after that.
Wow, loads there. And we were talking about the project you were involved with, and it seemed to be sort of a mirror of the Naya Centre.
Yeah.
We were talking about up in Hume, and which I thought was really, really interesting. So how did you get interested in what some people might call conspiracy, but it's just sort of an interest in what's going on, less perhaps in the mainstream, and what's going on across the globe, just over time? I mean, is that something that you just sort of came across, just got an interest in?
Well, more and more, I looked into conspiracies after a while, because I thought, well, this word's being bandied about. And actually, in the 1980s, we had more conspiracy theories than there are now, with the Cold War, etc., and lots of spying, but no outward sort of aggression. We weren't in so much of a war state across the world, but there was a lot of undercover stuff going on with the CIA, counter spies and English spies and Chinese and the Russians, they're all. So we conspiracy theory, if you look back at it, actually is just the people's news, effectively. So it's information on a peer-to-peer basis, as opposed to being run by people with financial or power or political interests.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, because it seems to have like a negative connotation, doesn't it? There's kind of lots of meaning attached to that.
Yeah. Well, that's the spin on it. So the mainstream media have then got hold of conspiracy theory now and turned it into something that it's not. Into, they're saying, oh yeah, it's untrue, and they're fact checking things. And a few things I've posted have been fact checked, and I've looked at the actual fact checking itself, and I could fact check the fact checkers. No, actually.
That's how it's getting out there, though, at the minute, isn't it? Across social media, it's it's hard to know where that ends. And obviously, like things have changed around, like you say, like the Cold War through the 80s, and just how like society and the world is changing. And so, what do you find is like most interesting now? We had a little chat about what's going on in the UN, and there's obviously lots of things happening around the paedophilia. Sort of
The whole self-sovereignty thing is really interesting me now, because we're in a position where we don't really know what governments are saying. They're very specifically, our government flip-flop on things all the time, change their directives, and they've got this new legislation, the coronavirus legislation, and so we're now put in a position, I feel, as actually our social and moral responsibility to be more in charge of ourselves.
Yeah.
And with the United Nations, who recently I think it's actually happened since March, they suspended operations from their building in New York. All the flags are down. They're taken away. Usually when they're in recess, they are the flags will just come down to the floor or be halfway up, but they've actually completely removed all the flags. There's no guards on the building anymore.
Gosh.
And they've got a notice on the door saying their operations are suspended from that building. There's no more public access where they used to be.
Wow. So what does that mean? I mean, I'm a bit of a Luddite around these things, but what was the role of the United Nations, and what does it mean then that their buildings boarded up?
Well, with the United Nations, they're it's more international business amongst governments, so how they can operate successfully together, and they have a set of codes called the Uniform Commercial Code, and that allows them to do international business. So when they're a set, this is the benchmark, we do things by these rules, and they're effectively international trading laws that supersede almost any other country's laws.
Okay.
And it's run through the postal service as well, so a lot of things are run through the postal service, although we don't realize that, because all contracts are on paper officially and signed, and when the United Nations sign things, that they do it all by paper,
right?
And then things get posted. The postal service deal with our letters, they come through the letterbox, any bills and things like that, and we're all operating under commercial law or maritime law anyway, so
which is another big subject to
we can run
understand.
So I won't go too far on that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
The disbandment of the UN means that all nations are now sovereign to themselves and can invoke laws and control on their subjects at their free will without having to go through other countries and be held accountable in European and United Nations courts.
Okay, and is that essentially a good thing? How does that translate for us?
It's a good thing in that we can then take advantage of the situation and start to maintain our own sovereignty effectively, and not contract with people where we feel obliged to contract. And this is all about a state. We're in hypnosis effectively through the media, through the information. He who controls language, which language is, we use language for hypnosis. So he who controls the language the people in hypnosis are receiving controls the hypnotic state or the dream state that we can be in. or generally are in due to this. But and what we're seeing actually now is a new language coming forward, aren't we? That we're not in control of. Someone else is in control of the new normal language. You know, the viral language that's going around that nobody had ever really heard of 6 months ago now. You know, I mean, who'd heard of a coronavirus, or who'd really thought about a virologist in you know, specifically. So we are seeing this new language coming forward that we're not in control of. So the first rule of hypnosis is that the person under hypnosis can voluntarily come out of hypnosis. You know, that's what we say to all clients in hypnotherapy and CBT is, yeah, you know, you can come out of this at any time. You can do whatever you like. If you need to go to the toilet, you scratch your nose, you know, that's not a problem. You're in control, and you don't have to accept any suggestions that I'm giving you if it doesn't synchronize with you, if you don't feel that that's of any benefit. And then the agreement would be that we're only going to suggest things that are for the client's benefit, and so that's the contract. So we're always contracting, even in hypnotherapy, we're contracting, and any other type of healing or therapy modality, we've got that client therapist contract. And now what we're seeing, due to the laws that are operating, is a unconscious contract between the people that are now providing us with this new language, that through the media, who use sound and visuals to create a hypnotic state, even just the way the information, so the timbre of the music and the rhythms that we're hearing in the words are very specific. And there's actually, like, the subconscious mind is processing, I'm not sure how many thousand times more than the conscious mind processes now. But we're actually seeing more, well, we're feeling more of the unconscious mind, or the subconscious, more than ever. 20%, I think it was, for conscious mind, and 80% subconscious 10, 15 years ago. But now we're down to like 2 to 5% subconscious mind, the research suggests.
Well, that we're experiencing that.
The conscious reality.
We've become less conscious of it, like it's become even more subconscious. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so we're falling more into the subconscious way of dealing with reality now. And so that's being taken advantage of through subconscious programming, through the media, via the media, and the information we're getting from scientists, entertainment and government, all coming via mainstream media and social media, which has now become more controlled than ever, with Facebook now monitoring everything that people are putting out there and putting a stamp on it, and their alternative view, which they're insisting is the real way of thinking. So news is more about opinion, and the way we were supposed to think about things. We're being told how we're supposed to think and feel and behave, as opposed to this is information, if you see what I mean. So we've actually switched the dynamic of the information that we're getting to, it's more of a programming thing. So we're more and more under hypnosis than ever now. So.
Wow. And do you believe that has got something to do with a narrative that I hear a lot, many of us do in the kind of like sort of spiritual communities, I suppose, about, you know, the Great Awakening, like we're all on track somewhere, the light is getting stronger than the dark, and there's like this sort of, you know, shift or expansion in consciousness, and this is kind of like the counter effect of that. There's like more control trying, you know, imposing itself in this kind of, it's a bit like this sort of battle against good and bad, and this shift into that. I just, do you think it's anything to do with that, or do you hear that?
I thoroughly agree. I think there's definitely a shift in balance of power there, and people are becoming more aware of what's happening around them. And, even now, when I speak to you know, the average person in a shop, or you know, we've got nice local veg shops here, so speak to the owners and various small businesses, and the average person that I speak to now will tell you, okay, well, we're just so unsure of what's going on, I don't even believe it anymore, you know, and I don't believe the information I'm getting. People are on average consciously waking from the dream spell, that, if you want to put it that way, I'd like to, you know, they're saying, okay, well, yeah, the dream spell is sort of losing its rhythm now, and they're flip-flopping so much. We're starting to question things more and more. Yeah,
and it's becoming less comfortable just to kind of, you know, be in our little bubbles and just go through the, I mean, I like that sort of concept, that understanding about the dream state, and this being the dream state, when we talk about non-duality, and you know, who we are, who we really are, and what is this realm that we're in, and you know, what is it all about?
Yeah, and I love what Alan Watts says, actually, is a favourite of mine, and he says we're here to live this life, you know, that's the purpose of us being here. We're here to live this life, and to do that in as much a way as possible as we can, you know, fulfill that existence to its maximum, you know, and not to hold back on who we are and our individuated sort of expression of who we are in the world. So and the more we see limitations on that, the more we're going to start to see the kickback, and people say, well, actually, I really start to feel now that I've got to live. And the more we're told, no, you can't live, you know, no, living's not right, you know, and there's imminent death.
Yeah, all the time. Makes you realize how much you want to live, and how, you know, how important it is that we get to do that in the way that we want to do it, not in the way that we're being told to do it. Well, how can people sort of tune into that? You mentioned self-sovereignty, you know, sort of taking sovereignty in our own lives, and that might be like a new concept for some people, but there is this kind of thing about, you know, coming into your own sort of sense of autonomy, and in dictating the way that you want to move forward outside of all this societal pressure and rules and regulations. So what can people do, like, practically to begin tuning into that and sort of take that lead?
I think more sort of disconnect from the information we're receiving, because we're just getting so much information now, and you know, there's threats of a second lockdown now, and people really sort of, you know, or a second wave that will be followed by a lockdown, and they're all right. This is happening in the future, so the whole thing is based on a future tense thing, something that may happen to us, and that's a threat. So we need to bring ourselves more into the present moment with everything, because effectively the future doesn't exist yet, and the past is gone, so we only have the present moment now. So that's a really good thing, to tune into the present moment and be more present in our lives with ourselves, and how we're treating ourselves, and the kind of foods we eat, and what we really, rather than tuning into what other people say are good for us, really tune into what's good for you, and don't be so on a practical level. You can say, well, look, I don't really, you know, just because something's readily available to me, I shouldn't necessarily choose that. Maybe there's a better choice for me, and sort of start to think for themselves more, rather than look at what's
just frozen there
on offer. We're in a very contract all the time with each other, and our language indicates contracts constantly, as I was explaining before. So we're sort of getting offers. You go to the shop, it's an offer, everything's an offer. So we just have to look at the offers we're being given. The information we're being given is an offer. They're saying, right, we're offering you this information, it's up to you to take it, but it's your personal choice. You can take that information. But no, I don't want that information. I'm going to switch off, and I'm not going to contract with you.
Yeah.
If we're looking at coronavirus restrictions that we don't agree with, things like that, then we don't necessarily have to contract into those restrictions. You know, a senior judge recently said, you know, we don't, if we've got a moral duty to look after ourselves, that stands above the law. So in any courtroom, if you can present to a judge, for instance, if you were fined for meeting your family, and there were 7 of you, given one of the more recent restrictions that's been applied, or guidelines, which I did get fact checked on, and they said we can do it in, they got themselves mixed up. There's a difference between law and legal for a start. And they said, oh yes, we in law we can apply those restrictions, but then actually it's a legal matter, not a lawful matter, because it's not common law, it's legal statutory processes. So, you know, they use trickery to get us to believe that these things are applied to us on a daily basis, and they are actually a restriction. But really, if you look at it, 9 times out of 10, those restrictions that are being applied to us will be detrimental to us in some way, and take our divine rights of our own personal existence and freedom away from us. So we can just say, well, look, actually, I don't accept that contract. And if you go to a court, or you're approached by a police officer, or a police constable, shall I say, not an officer, because there's a difference between the two. Because all police constabularies are registered companies. They're on the stock exchange, they're traded upon, and we're traded upon as human beings under our birth certificates, which are then dealt with by the government. The government own our birth certificates. We just get a certified copy. You never get the actual original. And later on, actually, I can maybe talk about this on another day, or give some information within the NIA Centre, if anyone wants to look it up, how we can actually create what's called a live life claim.
Right. Okay.
And to say that we're actually living human beings, and we're now responsible for all our own contracts. And the only real rules that apply to me are do not harm other people in any way. Because if we don't abide by that rule, and we do something that may take something from someone else ends up paying for that. Or if we break the rules of living in terms of the things that we need, and we don't pay for them, then somebody else eventually down the line is paying for that.
Yeah.
So self-sovereignty is all about being responsible for yourself, paying for the things that you need, doing the things that you need to do to make sure you're okay and your family are okay, and not abiding by arbitrary rules that are then applied to us in order to control us, and will be detrimental to our physical or mental welfare.
Like we can sort of just opt out of that, you know.
Yeah, we can opt out just through moral obligation, effectively.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that would be a fascinating conversation to have.
Yeah.
And to explore that, because it's remarkable, really, that we're born here, we just come straight into a system, we get given instruction on what to do, we're kind of like owned as soon as we get here. And just in this level of consciousness that's been happening in, we've all just been getting on with it and accepted it as a given, but we didn't decide who got put in charge, or what rules, you know, they've been around for such a long time that we're quite restricted in our say around that, but we can opt out of it.
Well, exactly. And we're put in this box when we're born. It's like, this is who you are, this is your name. Your name has social connotations, hereditary connotations. So we're fulfilling a role, effectively. We're acting a part. And life's a bit like a movie. I see it as a bit, you know, we're acting a specific part. And we've got to switch to Mayan now, I think.
Yeah, we'll do that in a second. And
yeah.
Thank you. We'll do that in a minute. Yeah. So what are you saying?
We're fulfilling this part, and we don't realise that actually we can say, no, I don't necessarily want to be given the part that you gave me with the script you gave me in my life. Phil, and I can barely move out of that role. There's very little flexibility within that, and it's socio-economics, isn't it? So we come up, and I encourage all parents to be as natural as possible with their children, and not to put them into this manufactured environment so quickly, and to really think about the options that for their children, because they're the most important thing. They're the up and coming generation, and I really don't. I feel natural parenting and not just shoving them into school as early as possible, and just sort of saying, okay, right, let's give the responsibility for our children away, and take away their real playtime, and just to express themselves as natural human beings on this planet, before we say, oh, well, you've got to do a job now, and you've got to, all of a sudden they've got a role to fulfill. Even at a school, you're fulfilling a role at a school. So it's another part of the movie. It's another scene in the dream.
Yeah, absolutely. It just becomes so normalized, doesn't it? We just accept this as like whilst we're in this kind of hypnotic state, not really sort of looking up and seeing what the bigger picture is.
Yeah.
Craig, I feel like we're just like scratching the surface of these subjects. I mean, they're just so vast, and there's so many areas, and I think we could do a whole series on this stuff. And please do get in touch, guys, if anybody's interested in that, because it's absolutely fascinating, and it kind of sort of seems to be concurring with like the spiritual awakening. There's also like the physical interpretation of that, and regaining our sovereignty, and sort of understanding where we really are. Always makes me think of that scene in The Matrix where Neo unplugs the wires out of the back, and he wakes up and he's not in a very nice place, but just that kind of like, wow, this is what reality is, Yeah,
well, that's what hypnotherapy is, actually. It's imagination therapy. So we literally are that whole plug in, and you can become a kung fu master. So we're installing preferable programs, whereas we've had some negative programs installed on us since we were children, since we were born. So hypnotherapy really is sort of putting us in that, to use an analogy, that Matrix-esque sort of scenario where we're saying, okay, right, well, here's a new program, let's reprogram and create new neurological pathways in the way we're thinking, feeling, and behaving.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, thank you so much, Craig. We are going to cut away to the Mayan calendar. If you've got a few more minutes, maybe we could pop back on just to say goodbye more fully. Just in a few minutes. Would that be okay? Yeah, as we cut away to Christina. Thank you so much. And here's Christina Batty with the Mayan calendar report update, and enjoy. See you in a minute.
Hi there, and welcome to your Galactic Mayan report for Saturday, the 15th of August. So today is a blue solar storm day. So what does that mean within the Galactic Mayan calendar? Well, firstly, blue storm is that cataclysmic energy. It's that transformation. It's the storm that's blowing through. We've been seeing a lot of that this week in the UK. So it really is that moving things through. It's blowing through all of the cobwebs and floating everything out into the ether. And solar is around completion. It's around coming into mastery. So it's really getting a sense of this blue storm energy. That is the energy for today. And it is the 9th day of the blue monkey wave spell. Now, we were speaking about this last week. So blue monkey is all around the childlike energy and playfulness, and a little bit of that trickster energy in as well. So really great opportunity to drop into creativity, as we were speaking about, dropping into play and just really allowing that to come up to fruition. It feels like there's been a tenderness in the energy this week, and really felt like we need to nourish ourselves. That's what's been coming up for me, for sure. So it's really just allowing ourselves to be in that child energy of really nourishing the heart of who we are. So we are going to be in the blue monkey wave spell up until Thursday, when we will transition into yellow seed. Yellow seed energy is around dropping in to the web, the weaving web of reality, the seeds of consciousness that we want to plant. So Thursday is a beautiful, really great day for doing some journaling, doing some dreaming. Who are you? Who will you be? Who are you becoming as we journey through these lives? So really taking an opportunity to put yourself a year, 5 year, 10 years in the future. Who are you? Who are you becoming? And really drop into that in the present tense, to drop those seeds deep into your consciousness, to manifest the person that you are really, truly deep down within. Not only for yourself, but also for the world that is surrounding us. What world do you want to be living in the next year, 2 years, 10 years, 50 years? Where is this world going? With everything that's just crumbling around us right now, this is the perfect time for us to use this yellow seed energy to really drop into the field what it is that we want to create, as everything, all the illusions are falling down around us. So this is the energy for this week. I would highly, highly recommend, if you don't already have a practice of journaling, really get yourself a journal and start to be journaling any creative ideas, any thoughts, any inspiration that you have. The universe may give you some tips and tricks as to where it is that you're going on your specific journey through this lifetime. And we will speak way more about the yellow seed energy next week. But for now, enjoy the rest of this Blue Monkey Wave spell. We've come out of the heart. We are transforming into the second half now of the Galactic Mayan 9-month process. So enjoy the rest of this playful energy, or however it is, however it's showing up for you. It might not be playful, it may be tender, it might be that you are really starting to feel your heart in ways that you may not have felt before. So be good to yourself, be kind to yourself, journal and drop some seeds for yellow seed as we go in on Thursday. Sending you so much love throughout these times, and I look forward to catching up with you next week for our next installment of the Galactic Mayan Calendar. Take care. Bye.
Obviously, from
Hello and welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much there, Christina. These brilliant updates. And we're back with our guest. We have Craig Whitewood with us, and wow, we're getting onto some pretty interesting stuff, Craig.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating stuff. So yeah, what we were just saying there about becoming sort of more, and we hear this term a lot, don't we, like awake and woke and these sorts of things, but this kind of, you know, maybe what we're doing is emerging from some sort of like hypnotic state and kind of like real realization of what's going on. It's kind of been like shoved in our faces as well, especially around what's happening. And that's been like sort of going on for a few years now, and the BBC and the paedophilia and the kind of all the murky stuff that seems to be emerging there. I mean, every day there's more and more things around it, and a different perspective seems to be sort of being forced around us, with this sort of control around that as well.
Yeah. We call it emerging in hypnosis. You're emerging from. So what's happening is a fairly short. And when people are in hypnosis and they're coming out and they're emerging from hypnosis, it's a very quick process. We're emerging people. It's very like, you know, click,
Right, yeah.
cut, sort of, you know, your eyes are open,
Mm-hmm.
you're back in the world, name the foot. So then the senses come into play.
Yeah.
Saying like, okay, look around the room. So, but you know, as you're emerging, sort of 5, you're coming out of hypnosis now. 4, your eyes are starting to open. 3, you're becoming more aware of the room around you and the space you're in. 2, your eyes are flickering now and they're open. 1, you're awake.
Yeah.
Hello, well done.
Maybe we're in the countdown then.
Yeah.
We're all just about to like, whoa.
yeah. It's a pretty short, sharp shock, isn't it? This whole thing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I suppose it is really, isn't it? It is. It is like more of a quick countdown, and yeah, it's interesting to see where that's going to lead. You know, and what kind of realizations we're going to have. You know, and how can we support each other through that in community. And we had a little gathering last weekend for a wellness day, and it was just nice for the information to get.
Yeah, just I think supporting each other with natural choices in our health now, more than prescribed way of healthcare, which is what we've seen deteriorating massively. You know, in terms of NHS, what services they can provide and how long they can provide them for when you see a doctor now. And people rarely actually get to walk in and see a doctor. More often than not, we're pushed to see a nurse, or I haven't seen a doctor for a very long time, you know, many years. But when people do go to engage with the NHS services, we'll get the contract is more biased now towards the NHS's advantage of, okay, well, look, you know, because we're always contracting, we're under signature, you know, you've signed documents at your surgery to say that you'll participate in their services, and you know, that's on your medical records. And I think even about 10 years ago, they had to write to everyone and say, can we share your information across NHS services? So if you became ill in Hull, but you lived in Manchester and you had to go to a hospital, they could access your doctor's records. And that went to lots of people's houses. They actually had to send them out from each surgery, and not many people actually got back. And if you ignore a contract and don't respond to it, you're agreeing to it by proxy.
Okay. Yeah.
So everything you ignore is you're agreeing to. If a silence is an agreement, effectively. So when we are, so in terms of that sort of thing, contracts that we're offered, we can just say no to them and reply, okay, yeah, well, what's this for? Why is that? So questioning things as well. So more questions.
Yeah.
We need in a more questioning state of mind now, I feel.
Yeah.
Saying, well, look, let's be discerning about the information we're being given and the offers that we're being given, and just to be more aware of those. And in community, like I was saying, more natural health care.
Yeah.
You can go on the NHS website now, and it will tell you vitamin C will not help your immune system in working against coronavirus. Well,
lesson.
Just absolutely, you know, even the Chinese were doing. I looked at a study. The Chinese were doing intravenous vitamin C tests for coronavirus. So they actually had a full-on study and said it's successful.
Again, it's like taking that ownership and that sovereignty and doing your own research and you know, figuring out what and sharing that as well. Feels like as this system changes, and it is going through a big change, like there's going to be new ways. Autonomy, and the information is certainly out there. And not to take things at face value, I suppose, in that regard. Then, you know.
Exactly, yeah, because we are trained to, you know, we go into the shops and you walk into the supermarket. You take most people don't stop and read a label. You know, they're just used to taking its face value buying. I mean, we're full of it. eBay, Amazon, it's all face value buying, isn't it? You know, because we know nothing about the product. How many times people have gone on Amazon and bought something? I don't like to mention company names, but how many times you've been internet shopping, bought something that's not quite what you want or as described, and it has to go back. And then they're tying you further into more contracts with them, because then you have to go back on Amazon or onto whatever service you're using, and then you're having to look at all their other products again. There's advertising. So, you know, it's just another repeat way of tying us in. So we can just look at things like that, and we're being tied into more offers and accepting them. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't realize I needed one of those all of a sudden. To buy that. So, you know, we're just got to be more conscious of these things, I feel.
Yeah, just understand that we don't have to say yes to things automatically, you know, just because the school says that, or the
Exactly.
or, you know, whatever it is that's happening. Yeah, sort of a greater awareness of that stuff. Great. I think you're frozen there. Frozen. We're back in a second. Hello. Don't know whether you can hear me, Craig, or not. Oh, hello. Back again.
Yeah.
Back again.
Even what you were saying on the schools front, they are just contracts. When they say to you, okay, this is a new restriction for the school.
Yeah.
Because of coronavirus, you know, your child must be tested to come back to school, for instance. When the PCR tests are, oh, bear with me, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, where the PCR tests have been openly admitted in the news media by politicians to be far less effective than they initially made out they are. And then we're being persuaded that they're still the only gold standard test. Well, it is the only gold standard test because it's the only one they've got, but they've got nothing to test that against, really, to say that these tests are effective.
Yeah. Be discerning. So looking at the bigger picture and not taking it at face value. Well, thank you, Craig. I think that's a really brilliant place for us to come to the end of the interview. Thank you so much. I would love to maybe do another talk around some of the many little offshoots that we've just even touched upon here. And there's a whole massive movement around this, I think, and information around it.
Yeah. I'm doing a Sunday weekly talk as well, and on 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. every week for the next 6 weeks.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I joined the last one. It was fascinating. There were some really interesting people on the talk.
Lovely, and actually, they're all community leaders in their own right.
Yeah.
Myself, and that's really important now. I think that community leaders come together and look at how we can work with our communities and speak to
absolutely
people.
How do people find that, Craig?
In what, the Zoom?
Yeah, the meet.
Yeah, good reaction from it. The other guys that came last week, and we've got a few more coming this week. So
okay, brilliant. So we can find that on Facebook. Is there a?
That'll be on my page. I'll repost it on my wall. So I'm publicly accessible. So even if you're not on a friend or a friend of a friend, you'll find me there and and the event's public, so you can just go on the event and say you're going.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, and no doubt we'll be seeing you again.
It's been an honour to come on.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody who's tuned in live and has been watching with us, and for everybody who tunes in at a later stage. It's been wonderful having you here. We've got a slightly shorter show this week because we were just having a little bit of trouble tracking down our second guest, but I'm pretty sure he'll be with us next week or over the next few weeks. Really looking forward to that. We're just getting a big build up to it. So everybody have an amazing day. Enjoy what's left of the sunshine, and we'll be back next week. We've got another couple of really interesting guests next week, again talking about CBT style stuff actually, and just a really lovely lineup. So big farewell from me, and see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.